Good morning. It's a very wet Saturday morning, at least here in Lagos. Welcome to Sunrise. I'm Alero Edu.
Wet and cool. It's that weather. Yeah. Don't be deceived, though. Amaya Makinde, good morning and welcome. And why are you looking at me like that?
I wasn't complaining about the rain. I was just saying it's a matter of fact.
It's the same thing I'm saying as well. It's a cool weather.
You're cool.
That kind of weather.
You're
Okay, so welcome. So what are we talking about this morning? Oh, but one way to deal with the weather, though, is just get yourself a cup of cocoa or cocoa. You see that? Cocoa? Maybe not right now. But the cocoa or cocoa, hot, steaming.
piping hot.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Piping hot.
Yeah, that is it.
Benio. Unfortunately, some people cannot get whether it is cocoa or cocoa or cocoa. They can't get anything because they have just died an unnecessary death in another collapsed building in Mushin. We really need to sit up and make sure that this doesn't continue to happen.
You know,
Are they building these houses with straws?
Alero, I think it was about a year ago, it occurred to me that, in the course of discussing this, I found out that houses actually expire.
Oh. Okay. So,
Now,
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
many people don't know that houses expire. So there is a possibility that the houses that have been inherited over generations and old, some people just put a sheen on it and it looks good, looks new.
On the outside.
On the outside, you know. So when I found that, a whole lot of questions, rose on my mind. How many people know this fact? And then there is...
It would also make people ask all kinds of questions. The Queen's funeral comes to mind, and some of those castles and some of those churches are more than 200 years old. So how do you determine when a building expires?
Another thing that many people don't know is the vulnerability of a house sometimes, occurs when the house isn't inhabited for a while.
True.
So
yes.
If a house has been left uninhabited for a long time, it's already vulnerable.
Yeah.
So to put people in it or to just get tenants in it simply because we want to make a buck or two without addressing that angle, there's another vulnerability there. So I think on our part as a people, let's play those roles. Then when government, for instance, says, we suspect this building, it could come down, we need to do something about it. The natural sentiment of, it's my father's house, it's the only one we have, it was inherited, it was this, it was that. If you take us out of here, where are we going to go? Those sentiments are going to come up.
Yeah.
So the natural thing is, okay, if you take us out of here, where do you want us to go? Where are we going to go? I don't know if government can have all the answers to that.
No, they certainly can't. They certainly can't.
Add that to the fact that even for the modern buildings that have been put up here and there, remember what happened about the one before this one, where we were told that this building site was shot a good number of times, and the developer kept going back with his own security.
With a deep pocket.
With his own security. Okay? From the same police.
To chase away the legitimate police.
The police. He had the same policemen in the same uniforms, from the same force, and all of those ones. So the questions are a myriad. The points to now be made is, okay, so what are the things that government ought to do that it has not done? What are our own vulnerabilities? I was looking for a house. You see all kinds of things when you're looking for a house in the city. I saw a house, ladies and gentlemen. This house was standing. You know, this is the way a house should stand. This house was standing like this, as in literally.
Odegbe.
It was standing like this, as if it was standing akimbo. And guess what? People were living inside the house.
Oh, God. People who are desperate for accommodation.
People were living inside the house. Remember the one that, I think it was in Lagos? I think it was in Maryland, that sank.
Yeah.
So there's so many questions to ask. We have a responsibility, or ourselves. It's our lives. I mean, you just talked about it now. You didn't even talk about the building, what the loss is. The most important loss there is that of lives, destinies, and dependence. So we ourselves have a role to play in that.
And as builders, as landlords, we should also remember that if we don't build with the correct spec of iron rods, of cement proportion to sand and all that, we would have spent money in vain. Because if the houses collapse, the loss is also ours as the whole house owners.
You talked about houses, in UK and several other parts of the world that have been standing for years.
Centuries.
Alero, look at some buildings on the island as well. Those churches, they've been standing there for how long now?
Check out the Brazilian quarters.
Do you understand? So it's because some were built that way. But with the economy, I think, was it not here we were told that the size of 1.5 iron rod has reduced?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even know if you are, a builder and all this. So it's a whole lot of things. So we have a standards organization of Nigeria, okay, that is supposed to help maintain and ensure these standards are what they are. For now, it will seem like all rods that are used for buildings are imported, right? So what is the label on the rod? What's the actual dimension of the rod? Who determines that?
And then who determines the combination of cement and sand, the ratios, and who enforces and makes sure that those proportions are followed on building sites?
Remember, we spoke with some structural engineers here who said it's the job of the structural engineer to ensure, but when he turns his back or he goes to the loo...
Or when he's not even employed at all.
Not even employed. So
he's not even employed at all.
So hold on, look at this. Look at this. So many people's, I don't even know, many of them...
Their livelihoods gone.
Some things will happen to you.
Their lives gone.
That's it. Some things happen to you and you're wondering, wait, you don't even know where to begin to think of where to start, much less where to start. So you don't have a... Well, I don't know.
Our hearts go out to those who were in this building, and commiserations, condolences to those that the deceased have left behind, to mourn them. And we keep praying. Every time one happens, we keep praying that we never see one like it again. But the following week, we hear of another one in another part of Nigeria.
If government
and that just keeps happening.
Yeah, if government were to go all around the country, each state government were to go all around their states and mark buildings that do not pass integrity tests for demolition, how many homeless people are we going to have in this country?
Oh, dear. Well, are you going to say because there's that risk, you're not going to allow them to live in houses which may collapse on them and kill them tomorrow?
The people themselves, would they want to leave if government says you need to evacuate this house?
I guess if I was told the building was going to collapse, I would leave.
Yes, you would leave.
Go under the bridge.
It's a whole lot of a whole lot of confusion, if I can use the term. I don't even know where to begin with that.
Yes. Murtala Mohammed Airport.
Oh.
Ministry of Aviation, please recall that that is the gateway into Nigeria. Most flights are coming into Lagos, and that is the first impression that anybody gets of this country. And it seems that things are getting from bad to worse at Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. The air conditioning is still not working. which we've been complaining about on Sunrise for several months. Our producer arrived from abroad a few days ago, and she still told us that the air conditioning was not working. There were broken tiles on the floor. The whole place is just such a mess, not to mention the staff permanently asking you for anything for us and stuff like that. It's also disheartening.
You know, Alero, when we talk about government, I always like to decrypt. You just talked about some elements of the body called government, the staff. You know, there are some people who will go, it's the job of some people to clean those toilets, right? It's the job of some people to maintain the air conditioners, right? Let's find out.
There's no money to buy parts for the air conditioners.
Okay, so, and I also understand
I'm just saying.
Usually,
that's not what we've been told.
It's usually those services are contracted out. Those services are not things done by the staff of the organization. They are usually outsourced services. So are you telling me that it is those people that are saying there's no money? Or they have done jobs for the is it NCAA or FAAN and they didn't get their monies back? Those are the questions that we need to ask.
And because there are many airports much older than ours, and they're not operating like this.
Do you remember that this is one of the reasons that some airports in the world that are working are not controlled by government?
Yes.
So maybe that is one of the reasons that I think there was a company that had that assignment at the time, or was it a contract, to manage the airports at the time. How well did we do under that regime? You know, so I don't know. It's a whole load of things.
No,
okay?
they had MM2. That was by Courtney.
Okay.
No, not the international part of it.
Okay. Well, there you have it. So was the experiment, the by Courtney experiment, did it work? Okay.
And if it has worked, why haven't we contracted the other one out?
And all those things. So it's a whole lot of things. And at the end of the day, okay, for instance, the fellows that you said are asking anything for the boys, as if I am not a boy myself, you know, or anything for the girls, as if the person you're asking is not a girl, you know. So we all have things that we are dealing with, and it's about time people came to that realization. It's probably still happening now. Who is asking questions is one of the issues I want to look at.
Yes, and the inflation is everywhere, so everybody's suffering from it. So the person you're asking for something for the boys also has his own challenges.
Absolutely. Because
he goes to the same market that you go to, where tomatoes are now 4 pieces for 200 naira. That speaks of the high inflation and how foodstuff has gone up so much. Imported rice was what, 8,000 naira. Nigerian rice is 28,000 naira a bag.
Now.
Yes.
Interesting.
So what's the point? Keep importing then, so we can get the imported one for 8,000 naira. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what's going on. One tuber of yam is 1,800, 2,500, or one tuber of yam.
It's a lot of questions that are arising from the things that you're saying now, because we've not even begun to look at what the real issues are. It's pre-election again. Usually this is about the time things seem to rise. Guess what? We're in what now? September? October is knocking. December is just down the road. And, you know, we're talking about inflation at 20.52% now.
By Christmas, it'll probably be at 40%.
Okay. And there are those who are talking about the price of the dollar to the naira, the cost of the dollar to the naira, and to travel out of the country. Now, I think it was about 2 weeks ago that we received word that to travel, it was 2 or 3 weeks now, to travel out of Nigeria, economy class, it's about ₦1 million or so.
And the airports are crowded because everybody is jack buying. Okay, enough said for today.
Yes. Another thing you may want to add to the mix is the revelation from Governor Wike. Let's do the menu for now. Okay.
Yes, we're going to start by looking at insecurity, curbing small arms proliferation.
The first of them, and of course, we'll be looking at how to embrace EdTech, in other words, technology in education in Nigerian schools.
October 2022 worship experience. What's that all about? You need to stay with us to find out.
And then in the course of the week, we understand that a whole number of tens of millions of Nigeria are having issues with their blood pressure, nearing hypertension or already in it. What's that about?
Are you surprised? And then, of course, we have the Artist of the Week segment with which we shall close the program,
and it's
as usual.
It's a shim. I'm asking.
He is a he.
Oh, he is a he.
He is a he.
The way you are saying it sounds like he goat.
He is a he.
All right. And with that, we welcome you to Sunrise again. Take a sip of your cocoa or cuckoo, and we'll be back.
No matter how you try, don't you ever fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall. Bring it on, bring it on. Are you ready? No matter how you try, don't you ever fall. Keep your head up high.
Yeah, thank you for joining us this Saturday morning. In July, following the rising clamor by state governors for citizens to bear arms for self-defense in the face of worsening insecurity, the chairman of relevant committees at the House of Representatives kicked against the move, saying that the level of arms proliferation in the country was already worrisome. They said that the states should instead push for state police. Of course, a lot of governors applauded that, but first of all, what do we need to be able to have state policing? We've been talking about community policing for some time. That is going on in some states, but people still feel insecure, and it still looks like terrorists, bandits are just running roughshod over us in this country. So the issue of security is not going to go away soon. Let's look at this issue of small arms with our panel this morning. We have joining us via Zoom from Ibadan, Mr. Fatai Owosheni, Special Advisor to the Oyo State Governor on Security Matters. Good morning, Mr. Owosheni.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. We have also joining us a security consultant who is in our studio in Abuja, Mr. Mike Ejiofo. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, both of you come from the forces in quotes. So we still expect another security consultant to join us in the course of the show, but let's go on with what we have presently. Mr. Owosheni, you used to be in the police force. What are your thoughts about citizens not carrying arms in the face of what we're facing right now, in insecurity seeming to get from bad to worse?
Thank you very much. Let me first, there are different types of firearms. And sometimes when people discuss this, they don't categorize. There is what they call the prohibited firearms, and there are the ones they call the non-prohibited firearms. For the ones that are non-prohibited, licenses are issued for them. And one of those, the common ones, or the commonest among those non-prohibited ones, are the double-barrel gun. And of course, the Dane guns that hunters use, while the prohibited firearms are the ones that can fire rapid. Licenses are not issued for those ones, except where the president or the head of state consider it necessary to give a person, and those are pistols. And in most cases, those ones are probably approved for mostly retired security personnel. So citizens carry arms. My thoughts, I won't support that because in the country where, for example, the United States of America, where such is allowed, we've also had people saying that, oh, we need to reduce this and all those things. So when all of us start carrying firearms, we are probably, increasing the stock of armory for criminals, because even the security forces that are carrying them, day by day we hear reports that they are attacked and those weapons are taken. So for me, it's a no, 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 no.
Mr. Jeffo, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's disturbing and very, very alarming, the amount of arms within the society. Like Mr. Wosheni said, you have prohibited and non-prohibited firearms. For the small arms and light weapons, in Nigeria, for instance, you have over 6 million in circulation. Contrasting it with the regular forces whose arms are less than 600,000 from statistics. So it's very worrisome. But coming to the point of whether we should bear arms, you see, I have always advocated that just like I advocate for the state police, I also advocate for issuing of firearms to private citizens because the situation has gotten to the point that we need to protect ourselves. If you look at if the bandits, the criminals, the kidnappers, if they're aware that you have arms in your house, they won't have that impunity to be invading your houses or kidnapping people on the road.
Exactly.
But I agree that there must be abuse if people are allowed to carry arms. So we need to, government need to regulate it kind of, looking at the kind of people. Of course, issuing of non-prohibited firearms like license, your mental stability must be established, your physical condition, temperament, and all this must put into consideration. So if you must issue arms to certain categories of people, it should be encouraged. I think it will help us, reduce the number of policemen in the doing guard duties, because it's one of the challenges we're having in terms of security control in the country. A situation where you have less than 400,000 policemen and over 120,000 of them are deployed to dignitaries. It's a challenge for us. And
more than a quarter.
Need to get more arms for the security forces, especially the police that is statutorily charged with maintenance of internal security.
Yeah, but Mr. Wosheni, if you say that issuing licenses in general for Nigerians to carry arms is a definite no-no, won't this give the criminals and whoever the impetus to just attack Nigerians at will because they know that Nigerians are not armed?
The freedom for every individual to carry firearms would definitely not stop the issue of insecurity. We must go to the root of insecurity. And what I mean by going to the root is that there are causes for this. Governance, for example, and of course, people getting agitated over, oh, we have been marginalized and all those. We must first look at the issue of unemployment. When you make provisions for people who graduates, non-graduates, to get work, go to the Chapter 2 of the Nigerian Constitution. The government has obligation, and one of the obligations is that everyone should be gainfully employed. And when they are gainfully employed, they must also be given wages that can sustain them. So when you start with that, you...
Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, Mr. Jaffa,
Yeah.
Can I go ahead?
yes. Oh yeah, we can hear you now. Yes, please go ahead.
So when you go to the root causes of crimes and challenges, the challenges we have with insecurity will definitely reduce. There are countries where they'll tell you that they have probably 98%, up to 99% of employment rate. Singapore is one of them. The citizens don't carry weapons going all about. So address the root causes, and all these things will get reduced. Citizens' awareness and consciousness with regards to insecurity. There have been cases where people that have these firearms illegally kept in their houses, it's the weapons that the criminals use in attacking them. So possession of firearms by every individual is not going to solve the problem of insecurity or crimes and criminalities.
Mr. Jaffor, let me ask you this. One of the things that would befuddle anyone at any given point on such a matter is, what are these arms? It would seem like for now we are talking generally about, guns and all of that. If the law does not permit Nigerians to carry arms, does that mean that Nigerians are not also permitted by law to defend themselves? Perhaps we need to clear that part first.
Of course, the primary purpose of government is welfare and security of the people. It's a social contract between government and the people that government must protect the people. But a situation we will find ourselves now that government or security forces can virtually not protect you. Only 2 days ago, some people were taken in Katsina and they're asking for 250 million. How long shall we continue like this? I agree they will be abused. But from the statistics I gave to you, who are the people using this arm? If we have over 6 million in unauthorized hand in Nigeria, I'm not talking of the West African sub-region now, I'm talking of Nigeria based on statistics. So, who are the people using it? Of course, you see majority of them in the hands of our politicians. And the case is going to get worse as we go into campaigns now. They are going to deploy all these people.
For the question that I'm asking,
we should look for ways of protecting ourselves.
Well, which is the point that I'm trying to make. Just to be clear, when you both, Mr. Oshini, and your humble self say we cannot carry arms, what kind of arms are we not supposed to carry? Because it will be difficult for anyone, including your humble self, to just stand by if you do not have license to carry any arms at all and watch anyone invade your privacy without you being able to defend yourself or protect yourself at all. Knowing, of course, what we know now. Even if the government was able to do all he's able to do, that all they're able to do, there comes some measure, there comes a time when at least in a little way, you are able to defend yourself. So in terms of those arms that we are not supposed to carry, what arms are we talking about here that people are not supposed to carry?
Now, we should get this thing clear. Let's make a distinction. The arms issued to individuals or citizens are not for protection. They're for gaming. And that's the law. But I can tell you that if I have my gun for gaming and I'm attacked in my house, I will not have any other option than to defend myself. The guns you need license for are which the law does not allow you, except the security forces, are the prohibited firearms. But for the non-prohibited firearms, like the double barrel, gun, they are for gaming. They are not for protection. So that is why I always advocate too that government should look for a way of liberalizing the carrying of firearms. You know, I agree to be abused. Just like we have the argument of the state police. Can we say because they will be abused, then they won't allow it? I'm happy the northern governors are keen into this project of state police because there is no way you can solve security challenges in your area when you don't know the environment. Security challenges are local, and we need local solutions. I continue to emphasize and give an example with the issue of Amotekun in Ondo State, for instance. And luckily, the essay to the governor in Oyo State, I also know that they have their own security outfit. I've known the intelligence they have gathered within that area, and they are able to do all this because it's their environment. They know the environment. So we need to also look for ways of liberalizing these arms, examine properly, vet the people we are going to give the arms to protect themselves.
Okay.
The people who are not authorized to carry arms are carrying them with impunity, with reckless abandon, threatening peace of the people and the society. So how long shall we continue like this?
Okay.
I can say again that it's going to get worse. Okay. I'm not a pessimist, but I know that we're lifting all the ban. And I can tell you that these campaigns, we're going to witness some violence since the politicians know that they cannot manipulate figures anymore.
Okay. Well, I understand that Captain Umar Aliyu, security consultant, has just joined us. He's also joined us virtually. Thank you this morning, Captain.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about this, you know, small arms proliferation and all of that. And it seems like, you know, you, of course, know about that and have, you know, a thing or two to say about that. We began by asking the question, what your own take would be on it. The two gentlemen also on the panel have added a word or two. What's your take on whether or not people should bear arms to defend themselves in the light of our realities?
The dynamics of what informs arms proliferation in Nigeria is worrisome. And I say worrisome because in every crime scenario, there have to be three things that are key before the crime occurs. There has to be a criminal, a willing criminal. There has to be a victim, potential victim, and there has to be the right time or place, if you like. And all of these things key in where the Nigerian citizen is victim. We have willing criminals. Oh, yes, we do. We have victims who are at their mercy. Yes, we do. And the timing and the place is just conducive because our laws gag the citizen and release the criminal. We see a situation where criminals don't even carry what my senior colleague has said, automatic weapons. They carry anti-aircraft weapons. They have gone from automatic to anti-aircraft. And other than anti-aircraft weapons, they even have blowpipes, and you mention it. And yet, the citizen is what we are worrying about because we feel some people are temperamental, some people are psychotic, and all those things that are actually cogent but beg the situation at hand. I say they beg the situation at hand because if our law enforcement and our government cannot go after psychos who actually turn anti-aircraft guns, not even automatic guns now, they turn anti-aircraft guns on civilians, women, children, and what have you, but they worry about people who want to graduate from what we call shakabula, that is pump action, and Dane guns to the 7.62 mm special AK-47 automatic, for example, then it's worrisome. We talk about governors, for example, who are at pains to protect their people. And they've cried out and said, listen, we need to upgrade then we see one side being upgraded to cater for people from a particular place, but then the same people from another part of the country, theirs too cannot be upgraded to cater for their own people. So it's worrisome.
Okay.
It's mind-boggling, honestly, very.
Yeah. Well, let me come to you, Mr. Osheni. Thankfully, you've been in the police force. You've operated as a state commissioner of police in at least 2 states. Right now, you advise the governor of another state altogether on security matters. What have been your own experiences, having, should I say, crossed the line to civilian life and experienced what people experience, about policing? The challenge is obvious. You have had to intervene in matters where it would seem it could get worse if you and your men or, the apparatus of state did not intervene. But here we are. Now, if you say, as you have said, that it shouldn't be liberalized for everyone to carry arms, what have been your experience in terms of people defending themselves or government defending or protecting the people?
From the work I've done today, my own solution will still remain that we should, close all the gap in governance. That is, once you have a proper governance, I can bet you that the challenges we're talking, we can overcome them. There are a lot of things that government has left undone, and that is why the citizens have been, have been made to look like helpless. Even the security institutions that we have, how much weapon do they have at all? If government, when I say government, the government that controls the security institutions, if they live up to their responsibility and they know our security operatives require some of these weapons, since we cannot liberalize the carrying of weapons for citizens, if they live up to their responsibility, I think we would overcome this. If you go to some police stations, you find out how many guns do they have there. And it's not just only police. So where government is able to recognize the fact that we need security, we need to fund our security agencies, we will overcome this problem. That's my own position. And with regards to citizens' experience, the people that have been victims, yes, it's very, very worrisome. But we also need to get, to raise the consciousness of our people, especially where you have the crimes that we call opportunistic crimes. Sometimes there are things that we need to do that we left undone. So when you put all this together, and my point is also that even where guns are liberalized, what is the statistics that these are ever reduced crimes? With the liberalization weapon, possession of weapon, it hasn't stopped crimes. It's just that in our own case, when we say it, we don't look at all those other places. Day by day, they also have their challenges. So, and that is why I still maintain that position that liberalization of firearms will not solve the problem of insecurity in this country.
Mr. Jafo, you said that there are about 6 million pieces all over the place in the country. It's not often that we hear that if these guys who are carrying these arms are caught, that they're actually charged with illegal possession of arms. Why is that the case? I'm sure if we heard more about that happening, People may not be in such a hurry to go and illegally acquire small arms.
That's what the law says. If you are in possession of arms that are not licensed or prohibited firearms, you are charged for illegal possession of firearms. That's the law. But like I rightly said and you emphasized, the number of firearms in unauthorized hands in Nigeria are 10 times higher than what all our security forces put together have. So does it not worry? So if you liberalize, that's the point I'm making. If you liberalize and the people using these arms know that everybody can carry arms, it's not going to definitely reduce crime per se, but everybody will be conscious that every citizen is armed. So you take time when you want to attack people. That's the point I'm making. Even if you, like Mr. Woshen is arguing, even if you employ everybody that is employable, there will still be crime in the country. There will still be violent crime. Even in America, where you have it in Switzerland, there are still crimes. So the issue is that we are not very well equipped in terms of security forces to take charge. We need to complement their efforts by helping them, and we liberalize arms, and people will go about with their arms. The impunity at which these people go out will reduce at least. It's not that it's going to go out. I agree that our business, but I've set out standards for issuing of those arms for protection.
Captain, in the course of the week, we heard the governor of Ondo State come out, and openly say that what was good for the goose was was also good for the gander, with reference to this militia in Katsina carrying arms, and other states not being allowed to arm their own little militia forces. And he was saying that he was just going to go ahead and do what was allowed one person, should be allowed the other person as well. So he was going to go ahead and arm his own militia, the Amotekun. What are your thoughts about that decision of his?
Well, you see, I don't know whether government has issued a statement on that. I read it in the newspaper that government has given permission.
Sorry, Mr. Jeffo, just a second.
Katsina,
just a second, Mr. Jeffo.
Yeah.
That question is actually for Captain Aliyu, if he's there. Captain.
Okay. I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
go ahead.
Okay. I feel for His Excellency, the Governor of Ondo State. He has his flock to cater for, and as a shepherd, you definitely will not find it funny if a co-shepherd like you has what it takes and has been given the go-ahead to carry the kind of weapons that will combat a similar threat kind in another region, and yours is not being allowed to do the same. There is no balance in that. If there is anywhere where people have to be defended at all costs, it is in Ondo State. Let's not forget those poor children, those women who were massacred in that church. If anyone should get the right of preference on any waivers, on any leverages, on any, I don't know what incentives, if we had to turn our face and say, okay, despite the law, let some people enjoy this unusual, permission, I think Ondo should be top of that list, because those guys saw hell a few months ago. I'm not from Ondo State, but I'm human, and I have colleagues who are from Ondo State. I want to add to what our senior retired military police officer said. There is much our law enforcement agencies can do if only they too are upgraded. Yes, if they are optimally tasked and properly deployed and armed, they will do much for us. But then, for 200 million people, how many policemen do you think you have per one person? There's not enough policemen. And I'm telling you, I don't think the policemen have the arsenal. These jokers we call bandits, these jokers we call terrorists, and whatever their names are. Why? So why is it that when it comes to giving those who should have the legitimacy of state the go ahead to do what they have to do, we develop cold feet? When it comes to saying, okay, let the citizens fend for themselves, we develop cold feet. But then those that are non-state actors, those that are even people who have no respect for the state, are having a field day and doing as they so please. They've moved beyond double-barrel guns. They've moved beyond automatic weapons. They've gone to anti-aircraft weapons. They've even graduated to bombs. Bombs that can blow bridges apart. If you know what a bridge is and the charge that is required for a bomb to take that mass of concrete down. You understand what I'm saying? So it becomes worrisome. His Excellency Governor Akeredolu has a very cogent case. He has a very cogent case, and if he is not giving what he wants, then you are pushing him to the extreme end of desperation, where he just becomes as desperate as the threat. And if we don't want that to happen, you know, my Yoruba brother will tell you, we're laughing, we're. You know, that is what we also call mutually assured destruction. When you arm up and that person knows that you have just as much capability to destroy him as he does you, then you see what you call a balance of peace.
Okay. Well, Mr. Woshini, I don't know if you would like to react to that question as well, very quickly.
Yes. I'm not too sure. And I won't imagine that any non-state actors in any part of this country had been authorized to carry happens. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. But I must also quickly mention something. My brother Captain Umar mentioned it, and Mr. Ejef also mentioned it. Yes, we've always been talking of the number of policemen to citizens. Somehow, I used to think that it is not even about the number. It is about the tools that you perform. When it comes to enforcement and police in this country, people always talk of only the police. It is because that the security agencies are not working together. If you had everyone that carries out the work of law enforcement, that is the police, the civil defense, the DSS, the military that are deployed for internal security operations, the immigration, all those units, the figure, if you aggregate the figure, you wouldn't actually say that Nigeria is under police somehow. It is for the government that controls these institutions to live up to their responsibilities and provide for them. If we talk of proliferation of firearms, that is to say that as the criminals upgrade using RPG, using dynamite, the citizens will also be upgraded in terms of upgrade the tools, upgrade the arsenals of the security agencies, and let them work together. When you do that, we can solve most of the problems we have. They are still not working together. That's, I would say. But I would not just envisage that the federal government in any way would allow any non-actors to carry AK-47 in any part of this country. But if that is done, then all the other states, like in my state, where we have the Amotekun, they should also be allowed to carry, if that has been done in any state.
Well, Mr. Owojeni, I'll stay with you on this mail that we received from Peter Keboku. He makes 3 points. One, the government should deliberately remove arms from the criminals. Otherwise, citizens will scout to defend themselves. Secondly, adults should be licensed to carry arms for self and community defense maturely. 3, how do you fight those criminals pursuing you with AK-47 where you're not allowed to carry pump action? Then he now makes this point. The only genuine way to stop proliferation of arms illegally is to deliberately remove arms from the criminals. What are your thoughts on this, especially in the area of mopping up these small arms from the public?
There is an agency, I think, still working under the umbrella of the office of the NSA now, that is charged with, removing all these small arms and light weapons to check proliferation. I would support that. Government should stand up to its responsibility. Government should also stand up to its responsibility with regards to those people, one way or the other, have been, given certain responsibilities like guard pipelines and all those things. If I would say that some of these outfits, under the guise that they have been given such responsibilities, brought in this weapon. Electioneering is just by the door. Some of our leaders also encourage, so they must live to their responsibility, squarely face the issue of, checking this proliferation. The government is lacking in that. And when I mean the government, all of us know, because we know the part of government that is responsible for controlling all the security institutions and have the responsibility to deploy whatever it's going to take to check proliferation and to hub the kind of weapons, the tools that are available to fight crimes by our security institutions.
Mr. Jofo, I remember, I think was it last year, the Vice President was saying, look, we can really deal with this insecurity thing. We may not necessarily need to add more men. Let's just deploy technology. I believe, Mr. Jofo, you know that we have quite a number of highly innovative technology all over the world that can be easily deployed. One of the ways in which Lagos, for instance, is making effort to defend itself is, the use of cameras all over the place, closed circuit TVs, all over the city, as many as can be. And of course, it will seem like more and more are being deployed. We understand that there's a city in China that it's like you have 3 cameras to 1 person in that particular city. So in terms of deploying technology, there are 2 challenges. I'd like you to speak to how, if we can, deploy them. One is the technology itself and its adaptability to our environments, various environments and topography all over the nation. And 2 is the skill gap that needs to be filled.
Yeah, there are many challenges. In any civilized society, yes, deployment of technology is encouraged. But if you deploy technology, it's not going to help you to know the number of arms in the society. What we will do is that it will aid you in investigations or prevention of crimes. I also want to comment on what, before I come back to that, on what Mr. Wushini said. Police will continue to be called because police is the statutory body charged with maintenance of internal security. When the United Nations was releasing its statistics, he said 1 policeman to 400 citizens. What is our ratio? We have less than 400,000 policemen. We have over 200 million. So how do you equate this? The point we're trying to make now is that, if we must check the imbalance, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very difficult to mop up all the arms in the society. So in the interim, we can adopt, in addition to technology, which will help us in investigation and prevention of crimes, we can adopt this issue of because I don't want to, I just want to comment on what you earlier said about the arming of the vigilante in Katsina State, or the outfit in Katsina State. I don't believe that story. And I'm surprised that government has not issued a statement to confirm or refute that allegation. Because I look at it as an allegation. This is one of the best ways I think the government, the federal government, should even help check crime. Allow all these former established outfits, security outfits, like Amoteku and virtually all states have their own vigilante and security outfit. Allow them to carry these prohibited firearms. They will be more effective because they are close on the, to the ground than the immediate the police itself. If you go to some stations, like he admitted, you have 1 or 2 guns and possibly 1 person. They are in the southeast, for instance. You see people, you see these bandits overrunning police station because they don't have the manpower, they don't have the request, and the little one they have, they take away. So we need to arm these well-established and organized security outfits, in addition to considering if we don't want to give arms to private individual citizens. Well-established, vetted private security practitioners can also be allowed, like people guarding the banks and all these things. Because most of them, at least, I'm sure, there's none of these private practitioners that is established without involvement of any of the retired personnel of the armed forces or the police. So it's a way of also trying to help maintain internal security. I think that's my position.
Yeah, Captain, if technology were deployed, as my partner just said, and it is known to the generality of Nigerians that several crimes have been solved using technology, don't you think this will help deter crime as well? Captain, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, yes.
Yes, of course. There is no bigger deterrence to crime like that one big eye in the sky. You know, when you have it in your subconscious that 24/7, something, someone, somewhere is looking at you. Okay? We see it when we travel out of this country. The moment you land at certain airports, something about you changes. You don't do things the way you would have done them at home. The reason is because there is this subconscious that runs across all the nooks and crannies of our country today, that I can do what I like, nothing will happen because no one is watching. But if we had that subconscious realization through the use of technology, that someone is watching, and it doesn't matter when you do it, you could be seen to have done it next tomorrow. They're still going to come after you. I mean, let me give you a mild example of that. And it happened some hours or some nights ago when a policewoman was beaten black and blue. You saw what that device in people's hands did, and it went viral. That's the advantage of technology for fighting crime. And the reason why anybody will do that to our police officer is because of logistics and equipment problems or challenges, the police has lost its majesty, its reckoning amongst people. That's why they maltreat our officers that way. Will you beat a kidnapper like that? Will you try it? Will you try a bandit like that? Will you try it? So we've come to that stage where we either deploy these things as in technology and begin to put the fear of crime, not even God, the fear of crime now in people, or else we'll continue to run circles around these problems, which are actually not supposed to be problems.
Mr. Osheni, you want to speak to that as well, the deployment of technology? I'm actually concerned about not just the deployment of it, but the skills or the skill gap that needs to be filled in terms of deployment of technology. You may also want to speak to or respond to Mr. Ejiofor's comment that, look, at the end of the day, the police comes first.
I agree with you. It is easy to say the police comes first. The police has the primacy in internal security. But the government and the people that say that, and other colleagues in uniform, do we allow that? Yes, we can say that police somehow, because of one thing or the other, lost that primacy because the police has been deliberately what they're supposed to be given to them. We say it oftentimes, but on the ground, it is not the actual thing. With regards to technology, it's not just about deploying that. The skill, like you mentioned, you must have trained people to handle this. And of course, you cannot fault the advantage of technology at all when it comes to solving crime problems. We've talked of the subconsciousness. When you enter certain country, you won't do certain things because you think you are being watched 24 hours. And the same thing, if we are able to really, invest seriously in that, and of course, that points to the fact that I'm talking about proliferation of weapons. Globally, crimes are insecurity, except terrorism. They are not fought with people carrying weapons. In some of the countries we go, how many policemen do you see on the road carrying weapons? In some countries, we even think they don't have policemen because of technology. So anybody that wants to do anything, think is being watched, including these traffic issues. In Lagos now, quite a number of people will tell you that around Ikeja, hey, be careful, don't do certain things because the camera. We must invest. The government, the government that controls and has a responsibility, the primary responsibility to fund our security agencies have not done enough. Once you are able to deploy technology and you motivate them, the personnel very well, you can, the problem will be solved 70%. It may not be 100% because you can't have zero figure of crime. Nowhere, it is not possible. There must be some small things like that. So if government is ready, I would say as of now, it may sound extreme. I don't think we are ready. I will even say that we are not made up our mind that we want a police in this country. You can throw all ever bashing on the police. The police in this country has been grossly neglected. Every time, yes, everybody talk of salary. What is even the element of salary? That is not enough to motivate anyone. That is not enough for an average policeman to say that, yes, I want to die solving this crime, when he knows that if he dies, policemen die every day. It's their colleagues that contribute money to go and bury their body. Nobody comes to come and in so many years. They are paid pittance and all those things. The government is not ready. Nigeria is not ready to have a police. And by extension, other security institutions, look at all the jailbreaks. What is the strength of the correctional personnel that we have? What technology has been deployed in all these correctional facilities? Government must live up to their responsibility. And I'll continue to clarify. If you look at what you will find out that the government, that arm of government that has the primary responsibility is lacking. How do you explain that the government will say they are buying how many vehicles for police with police trust fund? The number of vehicles that only Lagos State will buy, and government will come out and celebrate that. You buy the vehicles, no one is going to fuel them. This is a country where we have no address. We don't have address in this country. If you want to pursue a criminal, the motorable roads are not there. In all those countries we're talking about, there are maps that will lead you to places. Here, If they make a distress call, to get there is a problem. These are issues that should be resolved. Government should live up to the provisions and the obligations in Chapter 2 of the Constitution. Once we do that, we'll find out that we would be able to solve our problem both ways, not just the security institutions alone. That's my view.
Okay. Mr. Jaffa, we must start winding down now and recall that we're talking about curbing small arms proliferation. So you have told us that there are about 6 million illegal arms in the hands of Nigerians. How do you suggest that we begin to mop up these arms?
Yeah, before I answer that question, on this issue of deployment of technology, you recall that over $450 million or thereabout was deployed for cameras in Abuja. Where are they now? Are they working? Go to the Kuje Correctional Facility, the last jailbreak. There were no cameras there. So you don't put something on nothing. These things must be budgeted for. Are they budgeted for? On the police, the present government told us they will be recruiting 10,000 policemen every year. Has that been done? And people are retiring. People are being killed. There's a problem between the police management and the Police Service Commission in terms of cricket. That has stalled this process. So coming to mopping up of arms, several agencies, committees have been set up to mop up the arms in the society. What are they doing? You just go to Niger Delta or go to one place, they surrender the old arms they are using and keep this one. And they are pressed. They go and display to the press. They've recovered arms and all this thing. And people who are not authorized to carry arms are carrying arms everywhere. So we need to look not only setting up these committees, presidential committees on arms and light weapons, we also need to look at our borders to control them. Let more not come in before we now start talking of mopping up the ones inside. The challenges are too many.
Captain, quickly, in closing, mopping up.
My closing remarks for the issue of arms proliferation is that where we are at this moment, it calls for a lot of introspection. We have to look inward. We have to tell ourselves some truths, particularly as it affects our citizens and our law enforcement agencies, because whether we like it or not, it's up to them, the law enforcement agencies, to protect the citizens. And if government really wants to make a headway of this, we must ensure that those who keep the law are actually able, willing, and ready to do it. There must be what they require to deliver results. They can't give what they do not have. And if they don't do that, then the citizens will start resorting to self-help.
Self-help, okay. Thank you very much, Captain Umar Aliyu, a security consultant who joined us via Zoom from Ibadan. We also had another security consultant, Mr. Mike Ejiofor, who joined us from our studio in Abuja. And we had the special advisor to the Oyo State Governor on security matters, Mr. Fatayo Woshini, who joined us from Ibadan as well. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming to examine this very important issue with us this morning. And thank you for staying with us. Sunrise will be back in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Take a sip of your cocoa. We'll be back.
Thank you for staying with us. EdTech in Nigerian schools. You know, Nigeria is a developing country with a sector known as education sector, right? Just to be clear. And, well, it just
Obviously.
so happens. It just so happens that our budgetary allocation is, as at today, 6.7%, a standard percentage for any year, which is below average of the estimated allocation for education by UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. That percentage is 27%. Now, education technology is a combined use of computer hardware, software, educational theory and practice, and so many other things. Now, education in Nigeria will be better off, as many believe, if every school integrates technology into its core curriculum. How well does Nigeria's educational system maximize such a trend as this? Let's dive into this conversation on the state of EdTech in Nigeria with Ayola Nihilola, who is VP of Content Development at ULesson. Thanks for joining us this morning, Mr. Nihilola. Ayolua, my apologies. Ayolua Nihilola, my apologies, my producer's name is Ayola, so maybe that is where the mix-up came from. Thanks for joining us this morning.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. First of all, help us understand what we're talking about when we talk about education technology in our country. It sounds like something we all know, but just to be sure that we know it. You know, sometimes you think you know the lyrics of a song until you see the lyrics. So help us understand exactly what we are talking about here in terms of education technology.
Okay. Good morning again, and thank you for having me. So educational technology, or EdTech, as it's popularly called, it's just the way that we've been able to infuse technology into our curriculum and educational system. So there are a lot of problems with the current system that we would know. You can look at it from three major perspectives. So we can look at it from accessibility, quality, and relevance. These are some of the problems that the current education system is having. So EdTech is now, how are we able to use technology to, how are we able to deploy technology to solve some of these problems? And that can come in different variation, or in any variation that it might come in. Once you're able to infuse some technology into your curriculum or education system, that is EdTech at the very basics of it.
But speak to us about the takeoff of it. How is it received? Exactly. You know, let's begin from there. First, from the perspective of the parents, and then the students. How is it received at that level?
Sorry, can you come again with the question? I lost my audio for some moment.
Okay, I'm talking about the reception of technology. How is the technology received by the students and by the parents at places where, you know, it's been tested?
Oh, thank you. It's been very well received. Thanks again to the COVID events that happened. I think that kind of accelerated the way it has been received by the general public. So I think generally pre-COVID, I think parents were skeptical about the kids using phones and tablets to learn. Would they truly be learning on this? We have social media platforms, we have YouTube and the likes on the same devices. How will the students be able to learn on such devices? But I think COVID events kind of helped change that perception a little bit. It now became obvious that students can do more on these devices than just watch or play games and the likes of things like that. So I think COVID really helped change that perception. And post-COVID now, I think parents are beginning to also understand that, actually learning on these devices can again be even more effective than what we get in schools. And I will give an example to this to kind of help with the point. So when we look at our current education system, we'll find that in a class we have about roughly, let's say, 20, 40 students in one class. And when the teacher comes in to deliver the lesson, they address everyone in the classroom. But it happens that some students are not able to fully understand the lessons taught in that particular class. But there's nothing the teacher can do. It's one of the frustrations with teaching in general. You can't go one after the other to try to solve each student's problem. You move on to the next class. That's the logical way, that's the way the school system is structured. But what EdTech does now, and what parents are begin to realize, is even outside the four walls of this classroom, students are able to continue or even better learn some of the concepts taught in schools. So I think the reception has been really good. The outcome has been evident that EdTech, infusing EdTech into the current education system, kind of make it more effective. So that I think it has been well received.
Ayolo, you have looked at the reception by the students and reception by the parents. What about the teachers? Have you had to train these teachers so that they can impart the knowledge that they want to through technology?
Yeah, thank you. Very good question. So I think the teachers also, when we began introducing EdTech or technology into classrooms and schools, there was an initial fear that this might replace the role of a teacher. But that is not the case, and that's not what we've seen. Just in the case of when technology is infused in any industry, it's the same thing we are seeing in the education sector also. It only becomes like an effective tool in the hands of the teachers. And they are beginning to also realize that, for example, a product like ULesson, we've been getting a lot of requests from schools on how they've been able to use this tool, even in classroom, to introduce some concept. To dive a little bit into this. So ULesson as a product itself, what we present is a more visual perspective or a visual a resource for education. So things that are like nervous system, for example, that can be very theoretical, or you can see just in your textbook from a very flat and 2D perspective. But when you find a product like ULesson where you can see this thing in three dimensions, you can see it in a more realistic way, it helps the student understand better. So teachers are also begin to realize and use these resources as a tool in their classroom. So before a teacher will start a lesson, for example, you can play a couple of videos from the ULesson app, and the student understand better before you then go into your lesson. So I think the reception has been better, and it's even becoming more effective because the teachers are seeing that having tools like this kind of make their learning and outcome more effective as well.
Clearly, on that basis, we understand that you've been able, ULesson has succeeded in closing more than 150 partnerships with schools, including the high-end ones as well. So how did ULesson persuade teachers? Because, I mean, you spoke to that fear. A good number of teachers themselves probably grew up with the very local, should I call it local iPad, you know, the one that they use white chalk as the stylus. That's the one that they grew up with, and the rest of them, Alera, don't look at me like that. So
you mean
how were you able, slate, how were you able to persuade the teachers? What was the selling point to the teachers? Because some of them are digital migrants and not digital natives like the students that they will be teaching.
Okay. So the way we've been able to persuade the teachers is from two perspectives. One, it's from the learner's angle. So learners themselves, because initially when we launched ULesson, it was a B2C product. Basically, that means it was a product developed just for the learners. So you find learners going to schools and showing the teachers that, oh, I have this tool I use at home that is helping me improve in my learning. Can you have a look at this and let me know what you think? So that way, the teachers are beginning to discover, okay, can I have a look at this? And they are able to see how effective it has been. But the other way is also because the teachers are beginning to see that ULesson solve a problem. Learning at its core is supposed to be personalized. And the teachers are beginning to realize they are not able to provide this personalized learning at the core of it. So a tool like ULesson is highly recommended to students by even the teachers themselves because they know it solves this problem for them. And they don't need to do much. You don't need to be the one teaching or writing. Your role here is just to guide the student on how to use the app, on what to watch on the app. You don't have to be the one teaching or writing on the tablet or any of those things. So that is one level. There are some schools also that have been able to really deeply incorporate this into their learning material. So you find a school that has the projectors or TV in all their classrooms. So what they do is to play some of these videos to the students before the lesson or during the lesson at some point, and that is able to also help them just learn better. So for the teachers, I think what is driving the adoption for them is because they've seen how effective it can be and how it can be like a tool to further help them get better outcome for the students. Because at the core of it, what the teachers and what the school is looking for is for the student to be able to get better outcomes and pass their exam. So I think anything that kind of helps that to be more effective, it will be embraced by the school and the teachers. And ULesson is definitely providing that. So it's making our job easy as we go.
Okay. We keep hearing more and more about ULesson, which tells us that there is growing acceptability for it. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Right. So what has been the impact of the introduction of ULesson on the outcomes of the performance of students?
Okay. Thank you so much. So the impact for us has been at different levels. Again, like I said, we have thousands of users that use the ULesson app. Currently, we have about 3 million downloads on our app and over 30,000 monthly subscribers that pay to access the premium feature on the app. And what we've done to kind of measure this impact is that, so ULesson, for example, is not just an app where you can watch videos or just come quickly to do something. What we've done is to also create a very strong analysis engine into the app. So we have a learning analysis that measures, I've watched X number of videos today, and at the end of every video, what we do is to ask students a short quiz. So let's say we have 10 5-minute video for you to understand chemical equations, for example. At the end of each video, we'll ask you a quick question. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? If you're able to pass those questions or quizzes, you proceed to the next videos. If you don't, you go back again to watch the video till you're able to move to the next video. But at each point of all of this, we've been able to put in place proper learning tracking system. So at the end of the week, for example, we send a report to the parents for them to be able to understand the activities of the child on the app and also to help them understand how well they are progressing. Generally, also even in schools, we've seen that where students are struggling, they've been able to, and when you introduce a product like ULesson into those schools, they kind of move from the bottom percentile to the top or middle class. So far, it's been kind of effective, but we're able to look at that effectiveness from a per user point, and I think it's been effective so far from the feedback we've gotten. There are a lot of tons of testimony that we get on a daily basis of students giving us feedback on how it's changed their lives, how they've been able to, when they were struggling in biology, for example, and now it's become much clearer to them. So I think the impact has been very visible to us.
Pardon me asking, which schools can you name? Which results, for instance, have improved and have become impressive because they have now keyed into the ULesson system?
Thank you. So I'll give an example of Preston International Schools in Akure. So Preston is a very important school to us because I think they even further took this very seriously, how they've been able to infuse it. So I will explain what they've done in this school and impacts that they saw also. So what Preston did was to purchase a lot of ULesson tablets for their schools. So that they have a computer room where they put all of these devices where students can go during the break hours to watch ULesson videos on their tablets. But what they've done further to kind of help make the impact more visible is that in the school, they usually have about a bottom percentile of students. So I think it was 20 in this particular class. So what they've done is they put these students away from the actual curriculum or the method of teaching the classroom, and they put them exclusively to only use the ULesson product. So that means every time the students come to school every day, they don't go to the classroom. What they do is to go to the computer room to just watch the ULesson videos. And that is easy decision for them because the ULesson videos also mirrors everything they will be learning in the classroom. But what they've seen at the end of that experiment was that about 60% of these 20 students that have been exclusively just watching ULesson videos every day are able to move from the bottom percentile and even done better than the ones going to the class every day to learn. I think that was one of the very good schools that have been able to infuse ULesson into their schools, and they've been able to see like a proper outcome. So Preston International School in Akure as one of those schools, and several other schools in across the country as well.
After all, children like to watch TV anyway, so why not just give them a load of it in academics? But one question comes to me, we have little time to go, Mr. Anilola, is that of access. There are a load of people right now who will do anything they can to get these devices and to get their devices and put, you know, ULesson on the devices for their children. So on the one hand is that of access, and I understand this is a subscription-based system, right? Please take us through how people acquire it and sustain its use.
Okay, thank you. So ULesson is a subscription-based product, like I mentioned. And what that means is for you to access the premium content we have on the app. Let me start from this. Although it's subscription-based, there are things on the app that students can do for free. So because you are not paying does not mean the app is useless to you. You can access past questions, for example, and even the videos that we offer for free. There are some segments that would give to you every day for free to watch. It only becomes subscription when you want to have access to the entire platform itself. And at that point, you're about to make that decision. The subscriptions are in different variations. So you can make subscriptions for 3 months, 6 months, or you can go further to make the subscription for a year or 2. But even more importantly, what we've also seen is for us to introduce devices. So we have now a custom-made device solely made by ULesson. This is not like a Techno or Samsung. This is a custom-made device in-house that we think is very good for students. And why that is important is because on this device, for example, we've been able to impute parental controls.
Okay.
So when you have this device, when you purchase it for your kids, they can't just do anything. They can't just go on Instagram.
Okay.
Exclusively for
in fact, you solved the problem right there. You solved the problem right there because the fear of many parents is if I give my child this device, the next thing is where I don't want him or her to go.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, you know, just a quick one. Is there a website that people can get information about ULesson now?
Yes, that's www.ulesson.com. So that is ULesson, letter U, lesson.com. www.ulesson.com.
And I'm assuming that is one word. Well, we have to thank you very much.
One word.
Yes, Ayola Neilola is VP of Content Development at ULesson. Thank you again for your time. Ayoluwa Neilola. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Oh, God. Well, Sunrise is back in a moment. Please stay with us.
If you lose a good woman, everything goes scatter, everything go nyama nyama.
Thank you for staying with us. Now we have a conference coming up next month, and it is the conference of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It normally hosts this conference twice a year, sometime early in the year and in October, but we only see them when the one in October is approaching. So they're here again this year to tell us about this conference. It's a worldwide gathering of church leaders from around the world, and they share messages that focus on the living Christ and his gospel. To give us more details about this conference, I'd like to welcome President Chinedu Enwere-Uzo, who is a stake president.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And he has come along with Sister Jennifer Debayo, Organization Advisor, Africa West Area.
Good morning.
As well as President Akingbade Ojo, who is also a stake president.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us. Now, this conference holds twice a year, like I said in the opening, but we only see you in October. So the first conference for this year has held.
Yeah,
Yes.
during
When-
April.
It held in April.
Yeah, first week of April.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we expecting from this October conference?
Yeah, we, like you rightly said, the conference is held twice a year, the first week of April and the first week of October of every year. Mm-hmm. And during this year, or during this conference, we have members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints across the world come together to listen to their leaders like apostles and prophets, who teaches them or who teach them the gospel of Jesus Christ. And during the conference, they give sermons that focuses on the living Christ and also on families. They try to teach so that families can be united. And more so, they also invite people across the world to be able to live the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is very fundamental to us today. So by so doing, we have also come here to echo our voice, to invite people across the world, both our friends, our neighbors, and visitors, to join us, to participate during this conference, to listen to these leaders that have been ordained of God to teach us about Jesus Christ, our Savior.
Sister Debayo,
Yeah.
is this invite only extended to members of your church?
Thank you very much. The invite is made for everyone. We are all children of our Heavenly Father. He created us in his own image. And as brothers and sisters, we all are invited to hear the prophet speak to us. If you have anyone who is seeking to know, to hear from the Lord, we invite you to come listen to the prophet and hear the Savior speak to us.
President Akingbade Ojo, what's the nature of this conference? Is it physical? Is it offline? Is it online? How do people get access to it?
Thank you very much. Maybe I should first say that the conference is on 1st and 2nd of October. The conference holds at Salt Lake City in Utah. So we are to join through Channels Television, this particular station, on that day, both days. And also it will be streamed on some of our online platforms like africawest.churchofjesuschrist.org and churchofjesuschrist.org/broadcasts and at byutv.org/live TV. On channels here, on Saturday, 1st of October, it will be live between 5 and 7 p.m. And on Sunday, 2nd of October, we have 3 broadcasts scheduled, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and that will be Saturday afternoon session. Then we have music and the spoken word, 4:30 to 5 p.m. on that same Sunday. And then 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., we have the Sunday session of the conference. So these are the platforms at which. And also, anyone who is willing, like Sister Debayo said, is invited to join us in any of our chapels scattered all over to watch it.
Okay, so there will also be viewing centers at all the church centers.
Yes, of course.
All over the place. Is there a registration required?
No. Okay. The gospel of Jesus Christ for all, and it's free.
Okay. Just to be clear, because I don't know how they came up with Jesus fed 5,000. Did they register? Don't answer that question. Let me ask you, those who are coming would want to know, how is this going to change my life? So want to tell us how this conference has affected you?
Yeah, the conference is aimed at changing the lives of individuals and families, most especially families. I know why I use the word families. For me, it has really impacted so much in me. It has changed me. You know, one of the greatest miracles any man can receive is the miracle of changing your life from good to better or from bad to good. When we listen or watch the prophets and our leaders precisely, when they teach during conferences, the end focus is to help to change the lives of everyone who come to listen and who come to watch. To me, it has really impacted so much on me and my family. It has strengthened my family, it has given me peace, it has all given me joy, and helped me so far as I walk my daily activities.
Sister Adebayo, is there a theme for this conference? Or is open-ended?
It's open-ended. It's
Okay.
talk about Christ.
Okay.
Everything that will help us be better. Be happy people, and anything that will invite us to the Savior is what the message is.
Okay.
President Ojo, why do you hold this conference twice a year?
Wow, that's good. I think you need to understand, we said it takes place in Salt Lake City, and it is used, we gather twice a year just to listen to prophets and apostles who tell us about the ways and the means by which you can come and hear the Savior, come onto the covenant path and stay on the covenant path. Our president was talking about how this conference has blessed him. It is, the blessing are both spiritual and temporal. It's not only, sometimes we think it's only things we can't see. I had an experience several years back when a prophet told us to make sure we store food and other items, at least a month worth of it. My wife and I live in a place where we just turn on the tap to take water because of borehole. But we decided to heed the prophets, and we bought containers and stored water, and we don't know what happened. Our borehole went off, and for weeks we were without water, and everybody was just asking. We said because we listened to the prophet. So every 6 months we are reminded of what the Lord wants for us, and we hope that as we follow it, as everyone follows it, they will come to know for themselves that this is true.
I'm assuming that this testimony is replicated, to many other members as well.
I testify to you it is true. Okay. It is replicated.
Sounds like you have a testimony too.
Just recently, our prophets and leaders spoke to us, especially President Nelson invited us to seek miracle and expect miracle. I try to apply that in my life, and on a daily basis, I've encountered a lot of miracles that I didn't know that was happening in my daily lives. But because I listened to the prophet voice and apply his teachings, it blessed my life.
You have yours as well.
Yeah, regarding saving, when the prophet taught that we should save, I rather save. I save money. At the time, my business stopped. And look at me, the school fees is fast approaching to pay. And because I was able to save money, I was able to pay my children's school fees quick and in time. So this is as a result of heeding to the prophet voice.
Well, staying with you, you say that this conference is actually beamed out of Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Why are you not having a conference in Nigeria? I know that we listen to the Word of God, and the Word of God is the same everywhere.
Yeah.
But sometimes the implementation of the Word of God depends on your location.
Yeah.
So as we are in Nigeria, why are we not having our own conference to deal with our own peculiar issues?
Yes, we do hold our local conferences here. Like me, as president of one of our local congregations, that's Yaba State precisely, we will be holding a conference by 28 and 29 of October as well, which is exclusively for those in the Yaba area under my jurisdiction. So this also takes place other states across the country and across the globe.
From time to time?
Yeah, from time to time.
Okay. May I also add that this also takes place on 6-month basis?
Yeah.
So it's replicated.
Yeah.
We have it at the stake, like a diocese, then we have it at the ward level, where they will still have conferences that are tailored to the
Please
needs
don't
of
say
those
ward.
people.
That reminds me of politics.
Perhaps that also speaks to. Perhaps
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
When I say ward, I mean like our local congregation, like branches, where we meet to worship on the Sundays.
Sorry about that.
She needs to listen to the conference, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So she can
We
listen to
invite
the
her
prophet.
and you too
Okay.
to listen to it.
So, you know, gentlemen and lady, I'd like you to speak to young people who are in the, they are more than every other demographic in every country of the world today, especially in Africa, where we have what they call the youth bulge. What, for you, President Akingbade Ojo, would be the admonition to young people, and what would be their takeaway from this conference, should they attend?
Thank you very much. You know, the gospel of Jesus Christ is for all, and most especially for the youth and the children. In our church, we call them the rising generation, and we focus a lot of efforts and energy on them. We have programs in the church like seminaries and institutes where they are taught about the gospel and how to live. The young adults, and when we say young adults, we are talking about those between ages 18 and 30. They are encouraged to think about their future and their lives, and they are taught to honor womanhood and honor womanhood. And so when they come in for this conference, they will hear messages tailored specifically to them. And let me say that at the local conferences that we will have, we will amplify on these messages and localize it to the needs of our own local congregations. As these youth and young adults and the young people come, they will come to know that the gospel of Jesus Christ is not only for the so-called old people, it is for everyone.
Madam, you've been muttering under your voice as you were speaking. The mother in her clearly couldn't just keep quiet.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much for the question. The church believes so much in the rising generation. Just last Saturday, my own stake, in Agege Stake, we had a conference where the youths were allowed to lead. 17 years, 14 years, 12-year-old, and you see them applying the principles they have learned from the leaders of the church. And that has helped them to mingle with their peers and to know how to stay with the Savior. So as the conference is going on, we invite them, and all over the world, we are inviting them to listen to the prophet, because they will hear answers to whatever questions they have in life.
President Iwerozo, you want to add to that?
Yeah, one of the greatest programs the church has for the youth is the invitation to serve a full-time missionary. In our church, if you are a young man or young woman, when you are between the age of a sister is 18 to sometime 20 to 27, and if you're a brother between the age of 18 also to 25, you'll be given the opportunity to go out to serve the Lord for 2 years, full-time missionary work. I did it. It's one of the greatest changing events that can happen to the life of any young man or any young woman.
Just to be clear, this missionary is not in urban Nigeria, or it's just in some, maybe like Ikoyi?
No. You can be called to serve anywhere in the country or outside the country. And
but not Sambisa Forest.
No, not Sambisa.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. And the focus is to have them go out to teach people the gospel of Jesus Christ. First, they will be taught themselves. They'll be converted themselves, and they go out there to teach. So sometimes you might see our people on the road, you see them sometimes wear exactly the one wearing now, have a name tag on their chest, sister the same way, going about teaching the gospel. And one of the interesting things I see in it is the change those individuals receive, like I received during my days of mission. And I believe those today are also experiencing such changes.
And have you experienced the same thing?
Oh, yeah. I sat for 18 months.
You said full-time.
Full-time missionary.
Full-time missionary work.
For 2 years. For men and 18 months for females.
Young men and young women.
Yeah.
How do they survive?
Yeah.
Since they're not working, they're doing missionary work from morning till night till morning.
Yeah.
How do they
eat?
Yes.
Yeah. Their parents take care of them, and also the units, the local units, that the branch also support them, and the general church also support them should there be need for it.
I thought you would do what Jesus did. Just go out.
Wow, that's tough.
Let's go back to, first of all, the information as well, the dates and the time of you gave us the other time. First of all, but speak to the website first. You quoted the website the other time.
Yes.
Please give us those websites.
Okay, the website, africawest.churchofjesuschrist.org.
africawest.churchofjesuschrist.org. Okay.
And then we have churchofjesuschrist.org/broadcasts.
Okay, that's where it'll be streamed live.
It will be streamed live. Then we have byutv.org/live TV. It will be streamed live there too. Okay. But then we also say we have Channels TV.
Okay.
And on your GSTV channel 420, Go TV channel 48.
Okay. The websites again, so that people can because you're not typing them and I don't want you to spell them out. Okay, so this is one of them, I believe.
Yes, that's one of them.
There?
Yeah. It will be there, but that should be churchofjesuschrist.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
/broadcasts.
Okay.
And africawest.churchofjesuschrist.
Africa West.
Africa West. Not West Africa.
Okay.
Africa West.
Okay, this is Africa West. churchofjesuschrist.org. Okay.
Then we have BYU TV.
No, this is Church of Nigeria. This is another one now. This is Church of Jesus Christ.org. Okay, so all of the information for the conference are on those websites.
They are.
Okay. I understand you're also on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's your YouTube page right now, YouTube channel right now. So people can subscribe and get notification when the service is live.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
And it will be live on Channels Television.
Yes.
On Saturday and Sunday next week, October 1st and October 2nd. On Saturday, it will be live between 5 and 7 p.m.
Yes.
And on Sunday?
On Sunday, 11 and 1 p.m.
Between 11 and
then
1
we have
p.m.
4:30 to 5 p.m.
So there are 2 broadcasts on Sunday.
Actually, 3.
On Sunday?
Yes.
3 on Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, the first
we
one?
We have 11 to 1.
11 to 1.
4:30 to 5.
4:30 to 5.
That will be music and the word, just gospel music. And then the conference will start again by 5 o'clock to 7 p.m.
5 to 7. Yeah. 3 on Sunday.
3 on Sunday.
You can't miss all, right?
You can't miss all. You can't miss all.
You must catch one.
We know you are celebrating the nation, but we also need to understand that we need to celebrate the Savior first.
Yeah.
Okay. africawest.churchofjesuschrist.org. churchofjesuschrist.org
/broadcasts.
/broadcasts.
Okay.
/broadcasts.
Then byutv.org.
byutv.org. Okay.
/live TV.
Okay.
/live TV.
Live. Okay.
Got that.
Just to be sure. Okay.
Right. So that's it for the October 2022 worship experience of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You can catch them on all these websites and on these TV channels.
And YouTube. And YouTube channel.
And YouTube channels. africawest.churchofjesuschrist.org, on Channels TV, churchofjesuschrist.org/broadcast, byutv.org/live TV. So thank you very much for coming to talk to us about this morning, and we wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Through Saturday and Sunday next week until the next conference, which is going to be in April 2023.
Yeah.
President Chinedu Enweruzo, Stake President, President Akingbade Ujo, also Stake President, and Sister Jennifer Adebayo, Organization Advisor, Africa West Area. That should have been ladies first, but I do apologize. But I'm sure you will forgive me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sunrise will be back in just a moment with that part that you like very much, the lifestyle segment. See you in just a moment.
I don't know if you would be able to develop a blood pressure listening to that kind of music and dancing to it, because we understand that exercising is one of the ways in which you deal with that one. We'll hear more about that. So if you don't know how to dance, at least you'll be able to drink it.
If you don't know how to dance, you can move.
We'll hope let Benito come and do that himself. Well, at this time we have with us someone to talk to us about that which is called the silent killer. Hypertension is usually acknowledged as a preventable and modifiable risk factor for cardiovascular disease. It is preventable.
Okay. Anyway,
according to the
doctor is
we'll
here.
find out. Okay. And it's been duly acknowledged as a global and public health crisis by World Health Organization. The Nigerian Heart Foundation says Nigerian youths are at risk of hypertension. Young people, especially those in the age bracket of 18 and 23.
What?
Based on their addictive consumption level. I don't know what that means, but of course we'll hear more.
Consumption
Of great
level.
concern is a quote to that, is the fact that more than half of the individuals with hypertension are unaware. These are shocking things here. In many low and middle income countries, less than 40% are unaware. In some of these countries, awareness levels are even less than 30%. Globally, more than 1 billion people are known to have hypertension, and the figure is estimated to increase to 1.5 billion by 2025. There's even a statistics that said about of the number of people that are aware, only about 23% of them are taking any medications or even doing anything to manage it whatsoever. Please let's have this conversation with Dr. Wale Kushimo, who is a cardiologist. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
We are afraid that you are smiling.
That's not right.
First of all, let's talk to that the youth bracket that is in that statistic.
Surprising stat.
And shocking.
Yes, it is a serious problem actually, and perhaps the single most important risk factor we have in our environment, responsible for cardiovascular death. And this youth statistic, we are seeing it. I think if you speak to most cardiologists, they will tell you that yes, we are seeing an increasing number of young people, developing hypertension, and even the type that we commonly associate with the older population, that is what we call essential hypertension, one that is not due to a specific organ problem, And
And then, but one thing to note is that oftentimes these young people, one of the things that we observe is that they tend to have a family history. A lot of them have a family history. So it's said that if you have one of your parents, or especially both parents, having hypertension, your risk of developing hypertension is also there, and you tend to, it can occur at an earlier than expected. Usually most people feel they should become hypertensive when they're in their 40s, 50s, but it could be 25. I've seen some even as early as 18, 19, and a lot of times they tend to have both parents being hypertensive. So when you have strong genes, it increases your risk of having hypertension, and it can occur earlier. But of course, as we often say,
an 18-year-old has hypertension, meaning that for the rest of his life he's going to be on medication?
Potentially, yes. Potentially, yes. So one thing is that, of course, hypertension is it's multifactorial. It's not purely genetic.
Sorry, Sam, sorry. It's not fair. He didn't ask for it. So perhaps you want to speak to how people get it. One is genetic, just as you have said now. Is there any way that that kind of person could have, well, anyway, we'll talk to deal with it. So what are the other ways in which people, get hypertension?
Okay, so hypertension is the origin of hypertension. That is the type that most people have. Is multifactorial. So it's an interplay of your genes, your lifestyle, and your environment. So it's so the fact that, of course, you have your parents being hypertensive does not mean you are definitely going to be hypertensive. No. So it's an interplay, it's an interaction between your genes, your genetic predisposition, and your lifestyle, your environment, and all that. So which means that potentially, even if you have the genes, if you live a healthy lifestyle, you could potentially prevent or delay the onset. So rather than developing it when you're 25, it become much later because of your healthy lifestyle. You could actually, delay the onset. And sometimes, in cases, it might potentially prevent, or if your hypertension is mild, that is maybe the blood pressure is not too high, the healthy lifestyle may even prevent you from using drugs. Because
what does a cardiologist consider to be a healthy lifestyle?
So a healthy lifestyle is, we consider that as somebody who is physically active, who eats a healthy diet, physically active, and also has an ideal body weight. Those, and then obviously also avoids, things that could, lifestyle habits that could potentially be harmful, like smoking, reducing moderate alcohol or no alcohol consumption. So these are basically, you could say, the main tripods that we consider.
I'm active. I don't take alcohol, but I'm hypertensive.
Yes. So obviously that can occur. That is why we say it's an interplay of genes and lifestyle. But then the good thing is that we still advocate this lifestyle for everybody, because these lifestyle measures have an effect at reducing blood pressure, so that even though you're hypertensive and you're having a healthy lifestyle, it could help your drugs to work better, or you may even potentially reduce the number of tablets you need to take. So for instance, just combining all those lifestyle habits might actually maybe reduce your tablets by 1 or 2, and that will help your adherence and will help you to actually take your tablets longer, the fewer you take. And also it helps to facilitates control of your blood pressure. So it's something that we advocate for everybody, both for potentially prevention, for delay of onset, and for control of the blood pressure when you're hypertensive. Healthy lifestyle is recommended for all people.
You spoke to 3 factors that we'll have to sit down at a conference and agree. Genetic factors, lifestyle, and the environment. Genetic factors, you don't have control over it. The environment, maybe not, depending on your pocket, how deep or how shallow it is. Then there is lifestyle, also potentially something you can control, but then depends on your pocket. So how that would seem to put a certain class of people in an extremely vulnerable state.
Yes. So the thing is that we can all, within our means, I think everyone can live a healthier lifestyle. It's true that, okay, maybe when you talk about means and pocket, maybe you think some healthy food tends to be more expensive. Perhaps you're looking at, but food is not the only company about activity. Everybody can be physically active. You could have somebody, yes, maybe he's a person of poor means, but he spends most of his time just sitting down. Maybe she's a petty trader who has limited means, but spends the whole day sitting down. That's a sedentary lifestyle. That's a risk factor. So everyone, we can all, so living a healthy lifestyle, we can all live a healthier lifestyle. Definitely, exercise is not limited. It doesn't really, I mean, we can all have inventive ways of being physically active. That trader there who maybe of little means, but she doesn't have to spend the whole day sitting down. She can take breaks. She could, on her way home, instead of using Okada to go everywhere, a trek and have, so these are things that we can all do. So I think it's something that's irrespective of your pockets. I think it has to do with a lot of education. Many people don't know these things, and then we need to do a lot of education, a lot of community outreach and educating the populace on the benefits of having a healthy lifestyle.
Okay, you said something the other time that I caught, and perhaps by way of education, people need to also understand that. You said the kind of hypertension that many people have, that presupposes that there are different kinds.
Yeah.
Want to take us through that?
Yeah. So, as I said, first of all, hypertension is somebody that has a persistent elevation of blood pressure. So everybody has a blood pressure. Some people tend to get mixed up. Blood pressure, we all have a blood pressure, which is the force that the blood exerts on our arteries.
The average, we understand, and for the adult
should be less than 140/90.
Okay.
So our blood pressure should be less than that. Once it's persistently above 140/90, we call that hypertension. And that is not just one sitting, because if I do your blood pressure after you've run a marathon, for instance, it's going to be very high. You have to check it properly, allow the person to rest, and it has to be at several visits. It's not just one-off thing. Your BP is high and you're hypertensive. So it's persistent elevation of blood pressure.
So it's not just 120/80.
So no, ideal is 120/80, but from above 140/90, we'll call that elevated blood pressure. That's hypertension.
Okay.
So we have the ideal, but then we have what is abnormal. So once it's persistently above 140/90, they will call that hypertension. And it has to be persistent. That's very important. It's not a one-off thing. It's not just one episode, or maybe I was sick in the hospital, I was attacked by armed robbers, and my BP shot up, and just a one-off thing. It has to be persistent. We have to allow that event. We have to check it several times, and it has to be persistently elevated. That's what we call hypertension. So, but the most, as I said, we could break it into two broad classes, and the one that most people have, we call it essential hypertension, which is or primary hypertension. That is, it's hypertension that isn't, because you can have hypertension because your kidney is failing, for instance, or you have some particular problems with your hormonal system, or you have, so that is hypertension that is due to a particular organ of your body that is malfunctioning. So we call that secondary hypertension. But primary hypertension, that is the one that otherwise you could be healthy, you have no problems. Okay, I'm fine, I'm even a marathon runner, I'm whatever, but my blood pressure is high. That's all you have. So that is the commonest type of hypertension. But then the danger with this is that if that is not controlled, then it can eventually lead to the kidney failure and lead to the stroke, complications. But primary hypertension is hypertension that is usually not attributable to a particular organ dysfunction in your body. So we call, and usually we still, you cannot pin it to a particular identifiable cause, but that's what we call about risk factors. And that type of hypertension is multifactorial. It's an interplay of genes, lifestyle, environment, and then we cannot pin it on just, it's because you have a kidney problem or because you are this or that. So that's what we call primary essential hypertension. And then that's which, as I said, is multifactorial, which is why it has to have a multi-pronged approach to control and to potentially delay or prevent or to manage.
How often should one check one's blood pressure?
So it depends on your risk profile and your age. So what we advocate is generally everybody, irrespective of we advise people to have checks, periodic medical checkup, and probably periodic and which is annual, at least at the minimum, and at once a year. It is very healthy to have.
From what age?
I would say from I don't think there is any really, I would say, clear-cut minimum, but obviously from adulthood, and the older you get, it becomes much more, advisable to have, and the more detailed. The older you get, that check should be, more detailed. But what I'm saying, I don't want to put any minimum because, hypertension can occur at any time, so it's better. So which is why, and opportunistic. So even if it's just, blood pressure checked once a year, even if it's if your family, somebody who goes to your hospital and you're accompanying somebody, okay, let me have my blood pressure check. That is informal. That's not a comprehensive check. That can be done even from when you're young, from adolescence upwards. To have your blood pressure checked at least once a year, I think it's a healthy thing, So, so that's that. But then, obviously, if your risk is high, for instance, you have a family history, you're overweight, you have risk factors and all that, then of course it may be good to do this more regularly, maybe once or twice a year. And then if your blood pressure becomes, is borderline, that is very close to 140/90, then it's even more important. That's annual or twice yearly, or every 6 months or every 3 months. It might be advisable to check it more regularly. Then of course, if you are hypertensive, clearly, then based on with you and your doctor, it's important to check it with some certain regularity. Okay. And the regularity depends on, of course, how high it is. If it's under control, your drugs are okay, you could be fine maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months with your doctor. Or if you have a machine at home, you could check it more frequently. Sometimes we tell them daily if it's very high and we're trying to control it. Sometimes, okay, it's okay now, it can be weekly, it can be. So it's something that you actually agree with your doctor. It's also not good to get to over-checking. It can be a problem. I don't advise for checking more than once a day, for instance, checking it morning, afternoon, night, because we can have what call it like a kind of complex blood pressure. My blood pressure is high, and then even that anxiety, we're not going to allow it to come down. That anxiety. So many times I tell people, don't, if it's okay, no problem. You know, I agree with your doctor, you know, and so that you don't have that. You develop your whole life is built around your blood pressure, you know, and so that's also something we should avoid. That's why I'm just giving guidelines, you know, and it should be tailored based on.
Can give you high blood pressure.
yes,
high blood pressure. Checking high blood pressure can give you high blood pressure.
Yeah. And some people get anxious once the BP is being checked. They even have that anxiety.
So
Dr. Kushimo, how does one know that he or she, okay, maybe I should ask it this way. What are the signs that someone should look out for to say, okay, I think I need to check myself for hypertension or for high blood pressure? Are there signs?
Okay. So the truth of the matter is, for the vast majority of people, hypertension is silent. It does not have symptoms. And that's why we call it a silent killer, which is why your question is very apt. That is how often people should. So we encourage people to check their blood pressure. Screening is very, very important. It cannot be overemphasized. People need to check because most of the time it doesn't have signs. Usually, by the time you start having really clear signs that you can attribute directly to the blood pressure tends to be very high. You could now start reaching things like 190, 200, 220, you know, and that's when, and then you can start having symptoms like headache, blood vision. But you can have this 220 and not have symptoms, mind you. There are people who have 220 and are walking up and down. So which is why, you know, screening is very important. But then if it gets really alarmingly high, you can have dizziness, blurring of vision, headache. You can develop seizures even. And then also sometimes you can also develop complications of hypertension. You can diagnose of hypertension when the complications start. For instance, you know, heart disease, your heart begins to thicken, enlarge, your kidneys begin to fail, you may develop a stroke. That's when you have a stroke that your hypertension is detected. So that sometimes do occur in someone that has never been checking, you know. So presentation of hypertension can come in various ways. Most people are detected incidentally when they go for checkups or for malaria or for something else, and they check their blood pressure and it's high. A lot of people are diagnosed on screening and incidental findings. Some come as emergencies when the BP is very high and they come with, you know, sick with those symptoms. But it's very important to emphasize. That's why we call it the silent killer. Most of the time, it does not give signs or symptoms, which is why people need to check that blood pressure.
So perhaps the statement you are making now is, if you are 18 and above, go check your blood pressure.
Yes.
If you have never checked.
Yes.
Go and check if you are 18 and above, go and check your blood pressure.
Yes, and even for those who are younger, what I also advise people is each hospital visit, each time you go to a hospital, or if you're accompanying somebody, it's okay. It's your form of habit. Check your blood pressure. It doesn't cause any harm. So even for those who are even younger, anytime you have an opportunity to check your blood pressure, it's good. But I think obviously as one gets older, it's very important to check it.
Now, there are those who have said that the vulnerability is increased when people worry. Some say that blood pressure is sometimes occasioned by anxiety, by things that suddenly happen to you and then you worry. In fact, you hear people say, you have hypertension because you worry.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
So it's well, yes and no. Why I would say yes and no is, let me start with the no, because it's a big misconception. People, you don't, as I said, you cannot. Hypertension is persistently elevated blood pressure. So it's not, and obviously worrying, or somebody becomes bereaved, for instance, or have, you know, a very acute agitation, or if armed robbers come into your house, of course your blood pressure is going to go up. That is natural. Once you're under intense stress, everybody's blood pressure goes up. But then that doesn't mean you're hypertensive. It has to be persistent. Once that stressor has gone, does it go down? Does it go? So it becomes hypertension when it is persistently elevated. And of course, some people can have chronic stress. You can just live in this country because people say it's a risk factor for chronic stress. But then, obviously, even if that stress, that's why stress can contribute to your blood pressure. It's just true. If stress is persistent, it's part of your daily routine, and you also have the genetic predisposition, for instance, that's why it's an interplay of many factors. So stress on top of your genes, on top of your lifestyle and all that can contribute to elevated blood pressure. But it's not the primary cause. You
talked about environment. How about the work environment? There are those who say, I have a target of 40 billion naira of something to meet, and I'm anxious about whether or not I'm going to meet it.
So let me give you an anecdote. I'll answer this with an anecdote. I had a young patient, 25, 30, maybe with a rich family history of hypertension. I said, okay, fine, typical family history, young patient and all that. I was a banker who had targets. He moved to Canada, and his blood pressure came down without use of medications. How he moved, he changed the environment. Of course, this doesn't mean this will happen to everybody, but so one thing you could explain is that it's an interplay of many factors. Obviously, this person obviously probably has that predisposition, you know, and perhaps because of his environment, he's under work, under stress, so that predisposition, he already has the genes and all that. On top of that stressful environment, yes, perhaps it did contribute, and he went to an environment that was less stressful and all that. So what I advise, okay, fine, it's not controlled with that drug, but continue lifestyle, because this thing can still, you know, come back again and all that. So it's an interplay of several factors, but definitely it does contribute. Okay.
What is the relationship between salt and hypertension?
Okay, so salt content, sodium, which is the active component in salt, raises blood pressure. And then when we don't handle, the body does not handle salt properly, does not excrete it as it should, it contributes to elevation in blood pressure. So yes, there is a relationship between salt intake and blood pressure. And one of the most important dietary modifications that we advise is actually to limit your salt intake. Usually we advise about 5 grams a day, which is practical terms, one level teaspoon. All your salt should amount to 1 level teaspoon of salt a day.
It's not easy. Don't eat salt at all. That's what it sounds like.
that is what would effectively, you could have a meaningful impact on, because once you start having excessive salt consumption, yes, it does contribute to your blood pressure going up. So if you're hypertensive, it may make your drugs not to work as they should, or if you're if you have the predisposition to hypertension, you're pre-hypertensive, it can tip you to becoming hypertensive.
Doctor,
so salt intake is a strategy that can...
We're already used to sweet something.
Yeah.
It has to have taste.
Yeah.
So when you say level for the whole day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you are essentially saying, so are there alternatives to salt that people can use that will give taste to the food in Africa?
Well, okay, so now this is this is the, of course, research-guided, recommendation that, and of course, on practical terms, we know it is very difficult. It's not easy for people to regard. This is what we call a low-salt diet, which we oftentimes really insist. Especially, we tend to push it more for people, of course, who have the risk factors, who are already pre-hypertensive, who are hypertensive, who are on medications and all that. But for the general population, it might not be an easy thing for everybody to add this, but at least you can minimize it. At least you don't, because people have this habit of adding salt to food, for instance, which is not so healthy. You could add some moderate amounts of salt while cooking, but you don't have to add on top. So you have to, it's about really limiting, reducing, and trying to control. And also keeping in mind that you have salt in all types of food, different, fast food, processed food, and adding. So it's about people having that consciousness, because a lot of times people are taking way beyond this. And so we can start reducing it gradually. It may take a time. It may not be easy for everybody to just get to that low salt, but at least let us start changing our habits. It's a lifestyle thing. It's a habit that one needs to.
Speaking about what people eat, what are the other things that anyone who has vulnerability or is already in that state of hypertension, what are the things they should avoid?
Okay. They should avoid taking. Yeah. Okay. Well, before we forget, we should mention fruits and vegetables, very important. That is what people should take more. We encourage that because that also helps to reduce blood pressure because of the potassium content. But we advise people to also avoid fat. You know,
does that include eggs?
Well, eggs, moderate amounts of egg has protein and cholesterol, but then the main emphasis when I say fat is that is fatty meat. You know, when you see meat, that's better lean meat and even better poultry. Poultry has less fat than cow or goat meat. And if you're taking meat, try and strip off the fat content and as lean as possible. And then oils that
when you say fat content, you are talking about the skin.
So if you're taking poultry, for instance, removing the skin, if you're taking, beef, if you see fat there, you should try to discourage food eating.
The skin is where the pleasure is at.
Yes, well, that's where the fat is. so meat should be as lean as possible, and then prefers to poultry has less unhealthy fat, and vegetable oils, olive oil, sunflower, soybean. So these are things, and to also alcohol, moderate consumption. If you can stop, better to stop, and then at least at a moderate level, and preferably stopping if one can.
There are gradations to alcohol. There is beer, about 13–15%. I don't drink, so don't look at me like that. And then there is, the strong drinks and all of those things. When you say moderate, which of these are you talking about?
So the issue is that moderate alcohol intake will roughly be, for instance, not more than 1 glass of wine a day or 1 bottle of beer in a day. So that's the 5%, which has 30 grams. 1 bottle of beer has 30 grams. So not taking more than 30 grams in a day.
A day?
So that's...
So I can take a bottle a day for a week.
So the point, but however, the WHO... But I need to be careful here because the WHO does not recommend any level. So that's the latest guidelines, because they feel there's
no alcohol at all.
So they feel the lower the better. So they reduce as much as possible. And they don't want to give, because they don't want to limit themselves to telling you, okay, so that people don't start aiming and then eventually overshooting it. But I'm telling you, because practically speaking, obviously, it's still, we don't, if alcohol is something that is very deeply ingrained in many cultures and all that. So excessive alcohol, I'm telling you what is excess. Okay. Which is taking more than that, you're already at risk.
Somebody wants to know if...
But then if you don't need to do food, if you're not taking alcohol, please, you don't have to start.
Okay. Someone is asking if mama is not included in the diet, especially now that the federal government is saying we're looking in that way. Don't look at me that way. Someone is asking.
So Okoma also has fat. So
Okoma also has fat.
Yes. So that is.
But they say it has no food nutrient at all.
Yeah, but there is fat.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
There are those who also talk about staying too long in an air-conditioned space, air-conditioned room. They go walk to an air-conditioned car and straight up to an air-conditioned elevator into an air-conditioned office. Does that have any effect?
Well, I won't lay emphasis on the air conditioning. All I will lay emphasis is the sedentariness. Is that person always sitting down, staying in one place? Because working in I won't put too much on the air, because if not air conditioned, people need to, so they can concentrate and work better for their comfort. I will lay more emphasis on are they active? Do they take breaks when they are working? Do they spend the whole day in an air-conditioned space? So it's that sedentariness that increases your risk of that is not
on
unhealthy.
that,
not the AC itself.
Yeah, for executives, how much activity would you recommend for them? They have to sit in board meetings, for instance, on Monday, 2 days, less than 2 days from now. Yeah. They're going to be in an office, have a board meeting in all of the morning. When you talk about being active, what would be your recommendation to them watching you right now?
So we tend to encourage people at a minimum, if they can, at least do some, you could say 30 minutes of physical exercise, maybe up to at least 5 times a week, or more if they can, which is about roughly 150 minutes of, exercise in a week. And then, so of course, one can break it down based on your schedule and your convenience. More time on Sundays, you can do 1 hour, 1 day, alternate day, but at least roughly to have about 30 minutes and 5 times a week, which is what the general recommendation. But one should try and be inventive, try and incorporate it into your day. So instead of, if you take public transport, rather than taking Okada to your house, you can stop the bus stop before and trek the last mile. And then have different ways. Or if you're in your office, to take breaks, your tea break, rather than spending the tea break just sitting down, move around the office. Go to the cafeteria, climb the steps, move around. So it's about really being inventive, not and then really incorporating it into your day, so that it becomes a lifestyle, becomes a habit, something that is And of course, one can do more. I'm telling you, it was the minimum recommended, and if you can do more than that, even better.
Okay. So, is there anything special for men or for women or for children in dealing with this issue of hypertension?
Well, I think in general, the recommendations tend to be similar. I don't think we really discriminate by sex per se. But one thing I will talk about with children is that I think we need to start educating them on healthy lifestyle when they are young. Because taking vegetables, for instance, you need to start training them. It's not when they become adults with hypertension, you start forcing them to start eating vegetables. Let them start learning this healthy lifestyle, fruits, vegetables, let them start incorporating into their diet so that if they grow up with it, then it becomes something that they can live throughout. Because a lot of times we don't lay emphasis on children. We think, oh, they're okay, they don't have blood pressure, they don't have okay, and they're eating fast food the whole day. Then when they are 30s, 40s, you start teaching them to live healthy lifestyle. So I think we need to start early. That's one thing I would say with children. Let's start teaching them these things. In fact, we used to do it sometimes. One of our outreaches, we actually went to secondary schools and started telling them these things I'm telling you. We started telling them we need to start early. Let us start to educate them. So, because it's a lifestyle, it's a habit. And if they form that habit early, it's easier to maintain it through life. Rather than when they are 50s, 60s, we start telling them for the first time how to eat vegetables and exercise and all that. Let them start that lifestyle and preventing the onset of these things at an early age.
Doctor, is that why the introduction says that hypertension is preventable? So if you start that healthy lifestyle from when you're young...
Yeah, so it is potentially, but obviously not in everybody. Preventable potentially in some people. But as I said, if you have a very strong genetic component, you may not be able to prevent it. But at least you may even delay the onset, or you may actually help the controls to be better. So it is not 100% preventable, but in some people, yes, it could be potentially preventable.
I'm going to put you at risk right now. Please don't have hypertension as a result. You said someone, what's the word we use, jackpot, and the person's BP came down and he treated it with just the environment. Is there a role for government? Because the figures are scary for Nigeria, even for Africa. Is there a role for government in terms of making life maybe easier for people and as a result help them to cut down on these risks?
Yes, government has a big role to play. At the population level, government has a big role to play. And then one thing they can do, first of all, is improving health access. People should have access to healthcare so that they can go to hospital, they can be screened, they can be detected early. Early detection of these things are very important. Access to healthcare, then education, surveys, incorporated it into our school curriculum, for instance. Healthy lifestyle is something that we need to start very early. And then, wide-scale, education of the populace, and even education, even just formal education also, because a formal educated person is more easily for them to understand many of these concepts and also to adopt them easily. So I would say education, government policy, also this lifestyle, if people can also influence industry regulation so that all this processed food, they can reduce the trans fat and the salt content of many of these processed foods, that will help the population to even reduce the salt, because a lot of salt intake we take is actually unconscious. We're not even knowing why, and we're just taking salt that's already added for us, and we're not even thinking about it. So government has a role there to also in introducing policies to reduce the salt content of our food.
Is there a role for noise? Does too much noise contribute to high blood pressure? I'm sorry. I
wouldn't, well, maybe potentially, I mean, it won't be the major factor, because maybe noise could make you not sleep at night, for instance. Someone is making noise and you're not sleeping for months. Obviously, it could, but it's not like it's not directly.
So inadequate sleep is also a contributor?
Oh, yes. Oh.
You don't sleep enough?
Yes.
You have a problem?
Yes, it can. Inadequate sleep, yes, it increases your stress levels. And those who have obstructive sleep apnea, which is a medical condition, they don't sleep well, and their blood pressures tend to be more elevated, yes.
Now you know. Dr. Wale Kushimo, a cardiologist, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
I'm almost certain that your phones are going to be buzzing all day today. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Well, Sunrise continues with the next and last item on the program, which we call the home stretch. Well, this is one of the ways in which you will not have blood pressure, because the fellow who is our guest this morning, as you have seen, is a compere, stand-up comedian, and academic researcher. I don't know how you combine those three. But Damola Adegboye, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
How do you combine stand-up comedy and academic research? They are like...
they are
bipolar.
Yeah, yes, I know, but they are mutually exclusive, so I just operate exclusively. and we do everything effectively.
You do that. You just
There's a department. There are two
Pakam,
different.
I'm
There are
going
two
this
different.
way.
Yes, I just
And
switch.
you just face this way.
I switch where necessary. I switch where necessary. I'm not the only person. Ellen Paul is somebody like that. You know, she.
No, that one was not okay long time ago. I've always known that.
Yeah, so
according to Iboman, Nna Biko told me how a
switch.
person a person who has a first-class degree in political science is now doing comedy.
Well, first-class degree is academic. I went to school. I studied. I had a first class. Right.
Congratulations.
But we thank God for that. That was 10 years ago.
None of those multinationals snapped you up?
Well, I lectured in the university for 6 years, and I decided to, stop for a while to focus on what I really enjoy, which is stand-up comedy. I've always done stand-up comedy right from I've always anchored events, and I've always been a stand-up comedian right from when I was a student. Doing small shows in school here and there, and immediately I graduated.
And making small change.
It's making small change. All those come and help us anchor our departmental dinner. They pay me 1.5 or 1.2. And it was very encouraging for me then, because you see 1.5 from economics department, you see 2.5 from another department. Some will pay deposit of 500 naira, and then I get the balance after the show, maybe of 1,000. It was fun for me. But while I was doing all that, I was still studying in school, and eventually I graduated. So immediately I graduated, I started. I found mentorship, and I was put through on the journey. And, I started anchoring events, doing comedy. Then maybe 4 years into that, or 3 years into that, I got the offer to lecture in the university where I graduated from. And I did that for 6 years. And,
Wait.
When I just felt...
6? That's a long time.
Yeah, yes. When I just felt it was time to...
Wait. You were doing stand-up comedy, and then they came and called you to come and lecture.
I got the offer. I got the offer because I graduated from there, And I had the choice to pick it up or not. But then I saw it as something I've always loved teaching.
Oh.
It's a hobby. For those that know me, and those that know especially my classmates.
Teaching is the hobby. Stand up and
it's the job.
While I was a student, I was always for my classmates that are watching, they will know. I used to take tutorials then, So when the job came, it was like, okay, this is a structured one. Let me do it. And I enjoyed it.
Then you can still be doing the other one on the side.
On the side. And one good thing about, lecturing is the fact that it gives you some time. It's not as rigid as a regular 9 to 5. So I had the opportunity to do other things. But then I just felt I needed to focus on what I really enjoy at the moment, and come back to the classroom later. So that is why I am here.
And that is why you still combine that in your CV. Comedian and
researcher.
Academic researcher.
And so that I do on a very private note, I just write.
Do you research comedy too?
Comedy has to do with a lot of research. Before you can create a content that is funny and that is also a bit mentally stimulating, you have to do some reading. You have to open your eyes to see some realities and crack the humor in serious matters. So it's some dimension of research too. But
yes, I remember Alibaba saying about he comparing some event of bankers.
Yes.
And of course, the humor had to be apt for these. I don't even know what to call them. But it's not going to be the kind of comedy, the slapstick on the,
Exactly, because money matters are not funny.
No, they're not.
For example, as a comedian, as a master of ceremonies, you want to do an event for bankers, as you have said. I'm not a banker. I never studied anything banking. I'm a political scientist. I have to know a bit of it. I've done events for engineers where I had to speak their language. So I had to do a bit of research. I've done events for doctors where The last time I had contact with science was in GSS3, integrated science, you know. Or maybe, no, okay, biology in SS3. And then, you know, I had to check one or two things and then just, you know, act like you really know.
You had to dome up.
Exactly. You know, act like, you know, just speak some of their terminology so that they know that you are in sync with what you are doing. So, you know, it is then that, you know, people used to assume that being a compere or being a comedian does not require some level of intellectual, you know, expertise. You have to, with the level it has gotten to, with the kind of foundation that people like Ali Baba have created, you know, you have to be very proficient in certain areas, and it will help you in your delivery capacity when you are.
Let me ask you this.
Your job. Yes,
you left university teaching.
Yes.
To go into this.
Yes.
How fulfilling has it been in terms of?
Well, I have to be careful here, but then beyond money, yes, the business of entertainment is quite financially rewarding. You know, it is actually, and I wouldn't say I left the academics because of money, but then I just felt I could do so much more.
I did not say that.
Yes, ma'am. I know.
I am just asking.
Okay,
whether it's been fulfilling for you to
very,
have
very
given
fulfilling.
up that.
Very, very fulfilling. Very, very fulfilling. I don't have any
regrets.
iota of regrets for the decision I took. It's fulfilling, and I'm enjoying the job.
Okay.
Good job.
We will try not to put you in trouble.
Okay, thank you very much.
You've had opportunities on what you would call big flat platforms like, you know, Alibaba January 1st concert,
yes,
Lagos Laughs,
yes,
AY Live.
Yes.
What would you say was the most challenging of them for you, and why?
And this is a hard one. Every opportunity I have to speak in any event, no matter how big or small it is, I see it as a new challenge and as a new terrain, you know, and I handle each of them almost the same way, because I feel that I'm speaking with people that are listening to me, and I have to be at the top of my game anywhere, no matter how big or how small it is. Okay, Alibaba January 1st, for example, the first time I ever had the opportunity to be on there was his first edition. I did not come prepared. If you check online and you watch my first performance, I was wearing one, you know, this lace, this perforated lace, this, you know, all this blue lace like that. So I was not prepared. Omo Baba just said, Alibaba, this guy is funny. Let him come up. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. And then I came up and I saw people, and I was like, okay, now it has happened here live and direct. And so I just did my joke. I did it quickly. It was funny, and I walked away. You know, and I was like, oh my God.
What did you? Which of the jokes was it?
Can I remember? Can I remember? Okay, I think I can. I talked about the fact that women are powerful. Women are very powerful people. I talked about the fact that if as a man you just bought a car, you just bought a brand new car, and so you're driving in traffic, you know, somebody hits the car from behind. Naturally, as a man, you come out and you react because the person that hits you is a man like yourself. But let's assume you're driving that same car as you're cruising and driving quietly in traffic. Suddenly, you heard Bosa from behind. Then you came out to react. You're like, what's this? A beautiful lady just comes out of the car that hits you, and she's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. As a man, you just say, no. It can happen to anybody.
It's all right.
It's one of these things. I'll fix it. My insurance company, I have full insurance. So I'll fix it. You know, that was the joke I did. Immediately I did that joke, I just ran off the stage because, you know, I was just passing by. They just say, Damola, come. You know. So it was, and so when I was on that stage, I saw everybody. Okay. Yes, and that was in 2014 or so? The first edition. Is it 14 or 15? I can't remember. But then that was
That is a classic case
you know,
of being railroaded.
And so what kind of feedback did you get even from Alibaba himself?
It was good. I give God thanks. I've been on all the editions of
January
1st since it started, and I don't take that privilege for granted.
Okay.
You know, anytime he calls me, I'm always very...
You had your first show.
Yes, I did.
Last month.
Yes, I did.
At the chair. Look, I haven't even asked the question yet, and you are grinning from ear to ear.
That is testimony. Testimony laugh.
Thank you. So I've got my answer.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so how was it?
Well, well, that was my first. You know, I started this professionally in 2012, professionally, even though I've been doing it informally for years.
10 years ago.
You know, so, Damola, do your show. I've been postponing it.
Why?
Postponing it because of maybe fear of...
Apprehension.
Will the people come?
Will people come? Am I good enough? Do
they know me enough
do they
to
know me
come
enough
to
to come for my show?
Yeah.
Am I that popular? Do I have that level of comedy stamina to remain on stage for a very long time? You know, I asked myself all those questions, and then I was just telling people, don't worry, it is not a time. Don't worry, I'll do it sometime. Don't worry. And so I wanted to do it in 2019, but then, because that was the year I got married, so I just, let that go. 2020.
So that's the honeymoon year.
2020, COVID happened. 2021, we're still, recovering. So I just said,
end of the year.
2022, I like it or not, I must do this show. When, I'm not sure. How, I'm not sure, but I'm going to do it. So one day, I was just thinking, I just picked a date. I just ran it by one or two people. I said, this is the date of my show. They said, okay, that's fine. Where am I using? I decided, I just picked a venue. I paid. I said, immediately I pay. The meaning is that
there's no
the show is happening. And so I started preparing. It was a journey for me because I'd never, gone through that route before. So I was always asking questions. How do they do it? And as I had maybe 2 weeks to my show, I still had a lot of tickets in my car. I was like, okay, all right, Damola, whatever the case is, it'll be fine. Don't worry, just don't worry. I was motivating myself, I was encouraging myself. Some people were, okay, don't worry. Is it not your show? I'll come, I'll buy a ticket. And then I'll look at it again and I'll say, It's the hard copy of ticket I've seen here, not the soft copy. But then, to my biggest surprise, on the day of the show, okay, like a week to the show, I started seeing some
positive signs.
And I was like, okay, why not? Okay, it's looking good. Okay. And on the day of the show, by 6 o'clock, the whole place was packed. I was humbled in my mind, and I was encouraged, but I was also scared that, hey, okay, that people have come to see you live on stage.
Don't disappoint.
The meaning is that, Damola, I wish you success. I was telling myself all that, because people actually came to say, okay. In my mind, I knew that I had three sets of people in the hall in my head. The first set of people were the people that loved me genuinely and I wanted to come and laugh. I also had people that never knew me from anywhere, saw it somewhere, and said, let me stop by.
Like.
And the third set of people, okay.
Let's see what you will do.
Let's see if you can do it. So that was what was on my mind. And then I was like, okay, Damola, God will help you. And I'm somebody that believes so much in God. I had to pray about it. I had to put God in everything I was doing. And it was beautiful. I was on stage for about an hour, 10 minutes, comedy back to back. A friend, all of my comedian colleagues came to support. Those that were on the bill came, and those that were not even on the bill came. I was very, very happy about the fact that, okay, I said it, I pursued it, and I achieved it.
Okay.
Thank God.
I assume that's the lesson.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we don't even have enough time to ask you, what's coming for Damola, but I'm very sure that what is coming, we will find out.
Yes, you will.
Okay. Adigboye Damola is a corporate compere, stand-up comedian, and academic researcher. I still don't know how those bipolar issues come together. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Okay. I'm so grateful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That is Sunrise for this day. We'll bring you a fresh edition next month. I'm Alera Edu, wishing you a happy weekend. And see you on October the 1st.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's next month, next week. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I'm Ayo Makinde. Bye for now.